Vader Saber 1984 coming to you, also known as that drunk guy and his bullshit opinion. We're going to do this in normal fashion. Grab yourself a smoke, grab yourself a drink, hold on to your butts, your boobs, your balls, whatever you got, because here we go. Alright, so today's topic is going to be very simple. My favorite games on every console that I played. I don't have any notes. Nothing. This is all coming off the dome. Can you hear it? All coming off the dome. So in 1989, I would have to say Joust was probably my favorite on the Atari. Pong, of course, was there, but it just, back and forth. After the Atari, I didn't get another console, but I played a arcade game that was right there on the floor. I don't know where they got it, but it was just a Pac-Man. I think this was like 92, 93. But it was Pac-Man. Pac-Man and straight up just beep, 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 beep. So I love that one. But actually, systems, the next one I owned after Atari was the Nintendo NES, the original. And damn it, to put my favorite game of all time on the NES, because my uncle and I, my brother, my best friend, we had so much time with the NES back in the 80s and 90s. Hell, I'll still play that damn thing today, Still got the cartridges and everything. But I'm going to have to say favorite co-op game would have to be Super Contra. Favorite single player game would have to be it's so hard to, let me think. One sec. You know what? I really can't come up with an idea for my favorites, so to speak. My 1, 2, or 3. But I'm going to have to say Spider-Man the Sinister Six, single player, obviously. Deja Vu, single player. And man, I'm going to have to give it up to the original Mario for a single player. Because I could either do Duck Hunt or, just play Mario and go all the way up to level 13 and then shoot all the way, Yeah. Regular Nintendo was very hard because there was millions of games. But Zelda, I'm going to have to say that. Zelda is probably my favorite single player by myself pastime for the NES. Moving on. Okay, after that we got the Sega and the Super Nintendo right around there. I'd never had a Sega. My older brother did. And then my friends that lived a block over had a Sega. My brother got a Super NES, and I got to use that. So I got to play both. But we'll go ahead and say Super NES. Gonna have to give it up to Super Mario Brothers. I mean, jump around, doing the spin, having the feather and flying around and jumping on Yoshi. That was awesome. And of course, Street Fighter. I love Street Fighter, and for Super Nintendo, that's what I would have to say. Is Mario and Super Mario and Street Fighter. That was so much fun. But Ninja Turtles ranks up there too, but that's all single player. And back in the day, it wasn't too much co-op in games for Super NES. I mean, which they probably were, but not that anybody else would play. Let me reverse that. Um, Simulator Baseball 1000 from the NES to the Super Nintendo, not on the Sega. Hands down, favorite game for baseball, sports games. But there's so many genres. Moving on to Sega. Okay, so Sega's gonna be simple. Number one, I'm gonna have to say Sonic the Hedgehog as a single player game because, even though I don't like the game, but just playing it and going around, my slow ass brain and eyes just didn't work for it. But other than that, Streets of Rage again, gotta give it there. Killer Instinct was barely coming out after that, so I can't say that. I think they had one cartridge of it. Anyways, but overall, I would have to say the Star Wars series, where it was episode 4, 5, and 6 on the GSX. So you could play all that regular, and then you have the GSX, where you're flying the Millennium Falcon through the Death Star. That was pretty pimp for Sega Genesis. So I'm gonna have to give that one. Yeah, that's the best. All right, after Sega, there was kind of a little bit of an empty void. So N64 was the next console that I owned. I mean, the first game I got, of course, everybody got Mario 64, which was great. It was peaceful when you swam and the music, and you have a little free time to run around. That was great. But I would definitely have to say 64. I'm going to have to give it up to wrestling. My favorite game in 64, it doesn't matter who, what, when, who, where, why, how. That's going to have to be WCW versus NWO Revenge, followed up by Perfect Dark, followed up by WrestleMania 2000, followed up by No Mercy, and of course I can't deny 007. But as far as N64, my favorite game outside of all that would be Diddy Kong Racing or Mario Kart. That's N64. Moving on to PlayStation, because I didn't have anything in the in between. So PlayStation, played a lot of Rainbow Six. However, my favorite thing to play on regular PlayStation probably would have been, oh damn, that's so sad. That's what it was. Metal Gear Solid. I would have to say the first game that I ever played on PlayStation was Metal Gear Solid. Had a little run with 1080 and all that kind of stuff, but 1 second. Hey, no ma'am. Zoe, Shadow, stop. Shadow. Sorry, my dogs think they're badass on the outside of the fence. Man, I'd have to say that it was gonna have to give it to Metal Gear, for the PlayStation. Loved every bit of it. But I think they actually did a better version on PS2, which was Metal Gear 2. But other than that, my number 3 would actually have to be Jedi Power Battles, Star Wars. That game was so much fun. Yeah, you couldn't do much and run around, but dude, come on, you're slashing and making points, and it was just so much fun. And I'm a Star Wars nut, so can't argue there. So that's PlayStation. Now, as far as PS2 comes around, this is the last console that I actually spent a lot of money on and cared about, and have more video games than anything, just for that console period. I mean, you can go off the list. You could say the SmackDown versions. You could say Metal Gear Solid 2. Um, oh, damn. Bully. Bully was a great game that I really loved. Guitar Hero. I mean, it is so hard to say the best game or top 3 games for PS2. But if I were to break it down, my favorite things to play on PS2 were number 1, SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. Number 2, Guitar Hero. Probably Guitar Hero 2. And number 3 on PS2, Metal Gear. Yeah, those are mine for PS2. Yeah, PS2 was a great, but there were so many damn games. I have so many. But yeah, for PS2, there you go. Okay, so after that, I got a PS3, and then a PS3, we're going to have to say Fight Night was really good. Damn. I didn't even mention the Hitmans on PS2, but Hitman on PS3 was pretty cool. A lot of people are like, you got the God of Wars, and what I really loved on PS3 was Red Dead Redemption. Loved the hell out of that. That was my number 1 game for PS3. After that, it was MLB The Show. I'm not going to say what year, because I'm not going to give away my love. But following up, for PS3 game, shit, something kind of different. Yeah. All the wrestling games sucked. So I got nothing. Honestly, not off the top of the dome right now for PS3. I take that back. PS2 and PS3 shared it, and it was The Force Unleashed. Love that damn game. Fucking awesome. Alright, PS3. Moving on. Alright, so after the PS3, I didn't do anything else in between that. I did get an Xbox and an Xbox something or another, and an Xbox One in between that. Regular Xbox, it would be the Trials of Obi-Wan. The only fucking game I ever played on it, so Xbox One, well, I mean, Jesus, there's so much in between. But what I had was Xbox. Fuck, I skipped 360. I went Xbox One to 360. That was like the time of PS2. Anyway, Xbox 360, I would have to say Red Dead Redemption 2. After that, Jedi New Order. Really good games. And you can tell over the time I don't play many games anymore, so yeah, you got to pay the bills. You don't have as many hours to play. So, alright, so that was Xbox One, Xbox 360. PS4. So let's move on to PS4. Red Dead Redemption 2 and man, I gotta go ahead and give it credit. WWE 2K. I mean, I hate the system, but I just love playing it. So yeah, PS4 and Xbox One. Even though my Xbox One tray burned out on me, so I traded all of my games and tried to flip them to get the same with a little money on top. Never got all the games back, so my Xbox One is still full of memory and memories, and I'll never use it again. Because if I send it to Microsoft, I'm never going to get it back. And if I do, it's going to be fucked up anyway, so just roll with the tide and get it done. Alright, moving on to PS4, PS5, and then so.